Hello friends, I hereby welcome you again for the online educational channel of Zoological Society of Assam. Today I will be talking about the role of parathyroid hormone, vitamin D and calcitonin in calcium homeostasis. The lecture is designed for both undergraduate and postgraduate students. After going through this PPT, you will learn about some facts of body calcium, the different forms of body calcium, what does calcium homeostasis refer, what is parathyroid hormone, vitamin D and calcitonin, and what role they play, the first line and second line of defense to prevent any rise or fall in calcium ion concentration, what is exchangeable calcium, and what is the importance of this exchangeable calcium. At first, let us know some facts of body calcium. Calcium plays important role in body's functions. Our bodies cannot produce its own calcium. We need vitamin D to absorb calcium. The recommended amount of calcium depends on our age. Lack of calcium can lead to other health issues. Too much calcium can have negative effects. We need a constant amount of calcium, and all living animals possess powerful mechanisms both to conserve calcium and to maintain constant cellular and extracellular concentrations of calcium. What are the different forms of body calcium? Calcium is the most abundant mineral in the human body, making up 1.5 to 2% of the total body weight. Only 1% of the calcium in the body is in body fluids, that is the extracellular fluid, intracellular fluid and blood. The remaining 99% of the calcium in the body is in the bones as hydroxyapatite. Thus, bones are the main storage site of calcium in the body. Again, intracellular calcium is less than extracellular calcium by a factor of 100,000. Now, let me define the terms extracellular and intracellular fluid. All the fluids outside the cells are collectively called extracellular fluid, and it is divided into interstitial fluid and the blood plasma. Again, all the fluids inside the cells are collectively called intracellular fluid. Changes in calcium ions are usually accompanied by changes in total calcium in the extracellular fluid. In plasma, calcium exists in three different forms. 50% as ionized or the biologically active form, 41% is combined with plasma proteins, and 9% is combined with anionic substances of the plasma and interstitial fluids. Out of these three forms, the ionized form is the most important for the physiological functions of the body, like muscle contraction, oocyte activation, building strong bones and teeth, blood clotting, transmission of nerve impulses, heartbeat regulation, fluid balance within cells, etc. Therefore, its concentration must be carefully maintained. Interestingly, our body has several mechanisms to maintain its concentration. The normal value of extracellular fluid calcium concentration is about 9.4 mg per deciliter, and this is normally regulated precisely. Now, there is a question. What happens if the overall amount of calcium in the fluids gets too low? In this case, calcium can be supplied from two sources. Number one, calcium can be consumed in the diet. As our bodies cannot produce its own calcium, we have to rely on our diet to get the calcium we need. The foods that are high in calcium include the dairy products such as milk, cheese, yogurt, dark green vegetables like spinach, broccoli, cereals, soy products, etc. Second, calcium can be removed from the bones in order to increase the calcium ion concentration in the fluids. If too little calcium is supplied in the diet, the body will take the calcium it needs from the bones. If this borrowing from the bone's calcium store continues over time, bone mass will decrease, resulting in the condition known as osteoporosis. Now, let me explain what is calcium homeostasis and how it is maintained. Calcium homeostasis refers to the maintenance of a constant concentration of calcium ions in the extracellular fluid. And this constant concentration of extracellular calcium ion is determined by the interplay of calcium absorption from the intestine, renal excretion of calcium, and bone uptake and release of calcium, each of which is regulated by the three factors, that is parathyroid hormone, calcitonin, and vitamin D. Thus, calcium homeostasis is under the direct control of the parathyroid hormone, calcitonin, and calcitriol. Calcitriol is a vitamin D metabolite. What is parathyroid hormone and what does it do in calcium homeostasis? Normally, humans have 4 parathyroid glands. They are located immediately behind the thyroid gland and one behind each of the upper and each of the lower poles of the thyroid as shown in the figure. The parathyroid gland mainly contains sheath cells and a small to moderate number of oxyphil cells. The sheath cells synthesize and secrete parathyroid hormone, which is a polypeptide, and it plays a major role in bone remodeling and calcium homeostasis. A small decrease in calcium ion concentration in the extracellular fluid from the normal value can cause the parathyroid glands to increase their rate of secretion within minutes. Conversely, if blood calcium increases too much, the parathyroid glands reduce its hormone production. Now, let me explain a little bit about the bone remodeling. Bone remodeling is a lifelong process where mature bone tissue is removed from the bones and new bone tissue is formed. Two main types of cells are responsible for this process. One is osteoclast and another is osteoblast. Bone tissue is removed by osteoclast and it is known as bone resorption. Again, new bone tissue is formed by osteoblast, which is known as bone deposition. Osteoblasts are bone builders. They are responsible for the synthesis and mineralization of bone during the bone formation process. On the other hand, osteoclasts are responsible for bone resorption process. Bone resorption means broken down of bones where minerals like calcium, phosphates are released into the blood. Parathyroid hormone performs its functions in the following way. It helps in bone resorption by stimulating the osteoclast cells to increase the plasma calcium ion levels. In the kidney, it promotes calcium ion reabsorption by increasing the formation of 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol, which is an active form of vitamin D. The elevations in vitamin D and plasma calcium ion levels exert negative feedback inhibition of parathyroid hormone release. This figure demonstrates The effects of parathyroid hormone on calcium homeostasis. Now, what is vitamin D and what does it do in calcium homeostasis? Several compounds derived from sterols belong to the vitamin D family, and they all perform more or less the same functions. Out of these, vitamin D3 is the most important. It is formed in the skin as a result of irradiation of 7-dehydrocholesterol that is normally present in the skin by ultraviolet rays from the sun. The first step in the activation of cholecalciferol is to convert it to 25-hydroxycholecalciferol, and this occurs in the liver. And this process is limited because 25-hydroxycholecalciferol has a feedback inhibitory effect on the conversion of further cholecalciferol into 25-hydroxycholecalciferol. This feedback is important for two reasons. Number one, the feedback mechanism precisely regulates the concentration of 25-hydroxycholecalciferol in the plasma, and thus it prevents excessive action of vitamin D. Secondly, with this control conversion, it conserves vitamin D stored in the liver. In the liver, it can be stored for many months in vitamin D form, but once it is converted to 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol in the kidneys, it persists in the body for only a few weeks. 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol is by far the most active form of vitamin D. The conversion of 25-hydroxycholecalciferol to 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol requires parathyroid hormone. 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol functions as a type of hormone to promote intestinal absorption of calcium. In the right side, the figure demonstrates the pathway of activation of vitamin D3 to form 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol. The plasma concentration of 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol is inversely affected by the concentration of calcium in the plasma. There are two reasons for this. First, the calcium ion itself has a slight effect in preventing the conversion of 25-hydroxycholecalciferol to 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol. Second, and the more important, is that the rate of secretion of parathyroid hormone is greatly suppressed when the plasma calcium ion concentration rises above 9 to 10 mg per 100 ml. Therefore, when calcium concentration falls below 9 to 10 mg per 100 ml, parathyroid hormone promotes the conversion of 25-hydroxycholecalciferol to 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol in the kidneys. At higher calcium concentrations, when parathyroid hormone is suppressed, the 25-hydroxycholecalciferol is converted to a different compound known as 24,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol that has almost no vitamin D effect. The active form of vitamin D has several effects on the intestines, kidneys, and bones that increase the absorption of calcium into the extracellular fluid and contribute to feedback regulation of it. Number 1. It itself functions as a type of hormone to promote intestinal absorption of calcium. Now, let me tell how it acts as a hormone. Actually, vitamin D increases the formation of a calcium-binding protein called calbindin in the intestinal epithelial cells, where it functions to transport calcium into the cell cytoplasm. Here, the rate of calcium absorption is directly proportional to the quantity of this calcium-binding protein. Number 2, vitamin D increases calcium reabsorption from distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct of kidney, thereby decreases renal calcium excretion. Number 3, it plays important roles in both bone absorption and bone deposition. A smaller quantities of vitamin D promotes bone calcification and larger or extreme quantities causes bone absorption. Now, what is calcitonin and what does it do in calcium homeostasis? Calcitonin is a peptide hormone secreted by the parafollicular cells or C cells of the thyroid gland. It acts to reduce plasma calcium concentration, opposing the effects of parathyroid hormone. It seems clear that there are species differences in the importance of calcitonin as a factor affecting calcium homeostasis. In fish, rodents, and some domestic animals, calcitonin appears to play a significant role in calcium homeostasis. But in humans, it appears to have a minimal influence on blood calcium levels. More specifically, calcitonin lowers blood calcium ion levels in two ways. It inhibits osteoclast activity in bones, which break down the bone, and this is the major effect of calcitonin. It inhibits renal tubular cell reabsorption of calcium ion, allowing them to be excreted in the urine, and this is the minor effect of calcitonin. This figure demonstrates how blood calcium levels are regulated by calcitonin and parathyroid hormone. The most prominent factor controlling calcitonin secretion is the extracellular concentration of ionized calcium. Elevated blood calcium levels strongly stimulate calcitonin secretion, and secretion is suppressed when calcium concentration falls below normal. However, a number of other hormones have been shown to stimulate calcitonin release in certain situations. For example, calcitonin levels are increased during pregnancy and lactation. This figure clearly demonstrates the role of parathyroid hormone, vitamin D, and calcitonin in calcium homeostasis. Now, let me explain the overall control of calcium ion concentration. Actually, the hormonal control of calcium ion concentration is the second line of defense. The first line of defense to prevent any rise or fall in calcium ion concentration before the parathyroid and calcitonin hormonal feedback systems have a chance to act is the buffer function of the exchangeable calcium in bones. Now, let me tell a little bit about the exchangeable calcium. Exchangeable calcium means the interchangeable calcium. Mainly, bone contains a type of exchangeable calcium that is always in equilibrium with the calcium ions in the extracellular fluids. However, a small portion of exchangeable calcium is also found in all tissue cells, especially in highly permeable types of cells such as those of the liver and the gastrointestinal tract. What is the importance of exchangeable calcium, or why we need the exchangeable calcium? Because it provides a rapid buffering mechanism to keep the calcium ion concentration in the extracellular fluids from rising to excessive levels or falling to low levels under transient conditions of excess or decreased availability of calcium. Because of the ease of deposition of this exchangeable calcium and its ease of resolubility, an increase in the concentration of extracellular fluid calcium ions above normal causes immediate deposition of exchangeable calcium. Conversely, a decrease in its concentration causes immediate absorption of exchangeable calcium. About one-half of any excess calcium that appears in the extracellular fluid is removed by this buffer function of the bones in about 70 minutes. In addition to the buffer function of the bones, the mitochondria of many of the tissues of the body, especially of the liver and intestine, contain a reasonable amount of exchangeable calcium that also provides an additional buffer system for helping to maintain constancy of the extracellular fluid calcium ion concentration. At the same time that the exchangeable calcium mechanism in the bones is buffering the calcium in the extracellular fluid, both the parathyroid and the calcitonin hormonal systems are beginning to act. In this way, extracellular calcium ion concentration is balanced in our body. Now, up to this, what I have discussed, that was all about the regulation of extracellular calcium ions. But is there any regulation for intracellular calcium ions? Yes, the intracellular free calcium ion concentration of body cells is also regulated. As the individual cell bathed in a calcium medium that is many times higher than the average intracellular calcium concentration, it must severely restrict calcium entry. Once calcium enters the cell, fixed intracellular organelles take up and release calcium ion in analogy with how the skeleton functions. These are some suggested readings for you. You can go through these references for further study. With this, I am coming to the end of the lecture. Here is my mail ID. If you have any query, you can contact me through this mail. Thank you for hearing.